Hey guys, this is Jared with Double Trouble. Hope you've had a good week. Hope you, those in Nashville area, hope you had a good spring break. Hope your kids didn't drive you too crazy if you have them at home. We went up to a family friend's farm this last weekend. Hung out, did a little fishing, went with some friends, did a little turkey scouting. I got on some birds yesterday morning, just went out, took the boys out like maybe 30 minutes after daylight, threw them in the truck, still in their pajamas, rocking their Star Wars PJs, and we just drove around the farm, stopped maybe every quarter mile or so, got out, did an owl hoot, didn't get anything to respond until almost the very last spot. We pulled down in the woods, I hopped out, and I had two toms just on fire, going at it. And we were just parked in the middle of the woods, and the boys could not have been more excited to finally hear these mythical turkeys that we had been chasing around at 6:30 in the morning in the rain and driving through the mud. But we had a good time. So that's getting me pumped up for this coming weekend, which is opening weekend here in Tennessee for the spring turkey season. April 1st is opening day. Mark your calendars, buy your licenses, dust off your shotgun, get your calls chalked up. It's coming. It's going to be here soon. I am so pumped. I live the entire year for opening day of turkey season. I love spring turkey season. I would give it all up if I had to, just to be able to chase those nasty old toms around in the woods every spring. So, with that being said, I'm rambling. Am I rambling? Yeah, I'm definitely rambling. This week we sat down with Doug Markham and Jason Harmon from the TWRA. They do a couple different jobs over there, but one of the reasons I went into their office is to record their podcast with them. The TWRA has a podcast called Tennessee Wildcast. It's really good. I highly recommend you subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts at. I'm sure you can find it elsewhere. And listen in. They give some good information if you are a hunter in Tennessee. If you're not in Tennessee, really good information, just good discussion on hunting and fishing and outdoor recreation in general. We take for granted a lot of what our wildlife resources agencies and our conservation agencies do for us as hunters. I know you think, oh, I buy a license and they work for me, but these people commit their entire lives, literally go to school for degrees just to work in the conservation of wildlife that we directly benefit from. And we get into some good conversation about that and wildlife officers and also, the perception of non-hunters and how conservation is funded. And it was just a good conversation overall. If you get a chance, I think it comes out this week, go check out the episode of their podcast, Tennessee Wildcast, that I did with them. We talked a lot about turkey hunting, a lot about Hunt Nashville, a lot about how Kevin had travel issues and wasn't able to make it, so I had to fly solo. And got to poke a little fun at him. So it was a really good time. Hope you guys enjoy this. Tune in next week, and we'll be back again. But until then, here we go. Hey guys, this is Jared with Hunt Nashville. I'm here in the TWRA offices in the, is this the?
Studio B.
Studio B.
Yeah, Studio B.
I'm in Studio B with Mr. Doug Markham and Mr. Jason Harmon with Tennessee, well, with the TWRA, but also with the Tennessee Wildcast as the podcast they do. And we just got done doing theirs. I say we. Kevin had some travel issues, so it's just me, which is completely fine. I got to take up all the talking time and didn't have to share with him. But we just got done doing theirs, and I figured we'd sit down for a little bit, pick into Doug and Jason's background and how they got started working for the agency and what they do here, and then talk just some general hunting and fishing. So, Doug, we will start with you. How'd you get into this business, for lack of a better term?
Well, first, I know you'll have a lot of musicians in here, so I guess I'm here because Jason, you let Jason be on there, I guess. So anyway, I was lucky. I got out of college from MTSU and went with a journalism degree and got assigned or got a job down in Pulaski, Tennessee, which is a beautiful county. It's Giles County, Tennessee, and I met the wildlife officer there. And Jim Potts is his name, well known down there. And Jim told me about a job that was available in information that took a journalism degree for the wildlife agency, so I applied for it. It happened to be 3 miles from where I grew up.
Okay.
So I took the job a long time ago. I've been here since 1987 and have seen a lot of wonderful things. I've been a spectator, I always call it, of all these biologists and officers and other folks that really have the background, the wildlife and fisheries management background. It's been fun watching them work all these years and talking about what it is they do. I've just listened to them and repeat what they say basically. But it's been a great fortune in my life to be around these folks.
Absolutely. Well, what'd you go to school for? You might have said.
It did. I went to I had print journalism when I went to school.
Journalism.
Yeah, took
Okay.
print journalism and so I was in the newspaper business for a few years before I got into the information business with TWRA.
What was your background as far as the outdoors before that? How were you involved?
My mom and dad both got me involved. I was a creek fisherman and still consider myself a creek fisherman. I grew up fishing Mill Creek and near Antioch in Middle Tennessee, and Nashville. It runs all through Nashville. And so I was catching smallmouth and rock bass and all bluegill and all that stuff you can catch in creeks when I was a kid, and just loved the outdoors. And my parents always made sure I had a rod and a reel, or they'd take me to where I needed to go, if it's to the lake to fish off the bank. Or my dad took me when I was small. He would take me hunting and fishing with him, and I tend to lean more toward the fishing these days. But really my parents were greatly involved with my upbringing and getting in the outdoors, and primarily with just fishing.
I gotcha. So I'm assuming that's kind of what drew you into the interest of working with the agency, is having a love for the outdoors in the past and having a love for media itself.
It did.
Print media.
I wish I had a plan. You know, some people are born and they know what they're going to do when they're 3, and I just kind of got lucky and was able to mix a hobby with something that I went to school for. It was just perfect timing, perfect place, and I was just fortunate to be able to put them all together. But it wasn't because of a great plan.
Right.
So sometimes the timing's right, and you just accept what comes to you, and then try to do the best with what you're given. And so that's what I've done here, working with all these folks. And it's just, I've learned something every day for 30 years from these people that work at the agency, and I know how much they want to do what's right across the state. And that's one thing I've learned here is you know, I had the same view probably as a lot of folks would have about a government agency or people that are working in them. And this place has changed the way I feel, at least about this one government agency, because these folks here are only bureaucratic if they have to be, because they're made to be. They have a passion for the outdoors and for doing what's right for wildlife and fish. And so anyway, I've been lucky to have my hobby become my job over time.
Well, and that's a conversation Kevin and I have had quite a bit, is like, there are times in my life I probably would not have been comfortable stepping foot into a TWRA agency office. Just because there are times when you're a kid, fences don't mean a whole lot to you.
Right.
And so, but after, I think what changed me is meeting, you know, Bobby Will, and not that I was some big poacher, but there are little rules that you're willing to break when you're a little bit younger, because it doesn't seem like it's harming anybody.
I wasn't perfect all my life. Okay.
I was.
Jason's always perfect. He probably was. So yeah, I understand that. But you've met Bobby now, and you know what kind of person I'm talking about.
Well, absolutely, that kind of meeting Bobby helped me. You know, I just the agency was just this overlooming government agency that just, you know, wrote tickets and made sure that everybody did what they were supposed to do. And then you actually meeting someone within it itself actually makes you dig in a little further and realize, no, the reason that wildlife and conservation is the way it is in every given state, whether it's a wildlife resources agency or a game and fish, whatever they call it, is because there are people who devote their lives to doing this thing, even though day to day they may not realize oh my gosh, I'm making a big difference here. It's just their job. They're doing what they're supposed to do or what they went to school for.
It is exactly right.
But on a grander scale, the reason that we're able to appreciate these things and take advantage of them is because people have devoted their lives to actually spending time working to make things better rather than just complaining about them being bad.
I came exactly right, and they don't think about it like I do or did, and like a lot of folks outside the agency. They don't. It's a special thing they do, and a lot of people want to be them. But they go to work every day and don't put that kind of thought into it. It really is for the resource. I came along at the pretty much the tail end of the deer restoration, but really with a lot of turkey restoration to go, and they were still restoring Canada geese. Some people like it, some people don't. But there was a lot of restorations.
They did a good job.
They did. And then we had a guy named Bob Hatcher who passed away a few years ago, one of my favorite people ever here, who worked with the Bald Eagle Project and peregrine falcons and ospreys and all this stuff. And I just saw how ridiculously hard they worked and how they'd get up in the morning, and these guys trapping turkeys would be out there at dark when it was freezing and trapping these birds and everything they did. And then you come into this office, this Nashville office, or Region 5 we call it, headquarters office, and you see all the administrative work that goes on here. Yeah, we're a business, we're a government agency, but you really see these people that care about what they're doing. Even a lot of the folks that are secretaries or they're administrating other things that really don't have anything to do with managing wildlife, they still have a passion for what's going on with the wildlife out there and what's going on with the fish. And it's pervasive at this agency. We're a small agency. We're only 720 folks across the state, and we have offices all across Tennessee, 4 offices across the state in our central office. So we're not a very big agency, and those offices are only staffed by maybe 100 people or so. But we wanted to have grand representation when we were created years back, and that's why we're here. But you mentioned wildlife officers. That is the single most viewed person from this agency. This agency is wildlife officers. That's what people think of when they see. Some folks may still call them game wardens, but they're wildlife officers.
Right. Yeah, I changed my vernacular not too long ago.
I think they're game wardens when they write you a ticket. Wildlife officers when they don't.
That's right. They're wildlife officers when you shoot a big buck, and they're game wardens when they catch you with too many shells in the shotgun.
There you go.
That's right.
Well, you talk about all this history that you've experienced, the background of the restorations and things like that, and now we're seeing, world record whitetail.
Oh my gosh.
State record fish.
We've had a phenomenal couple of years.
Yeah.
We're wearing out the record books, and it's all because of what all these people have done before us.
Yeah. When you're seeing that, like the Tucker buck being a perfect example of whoever would have thought a deer like that would come out of Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, no doubt. Like out near Memphis, out west or up north near Kentucky or even out east in the mountains. But a deer coming out of Middle Tennessee like that, and it's becoming more and more. Y'all were talking about it on one of your podcasts not long ago. It's it seems to be becoming more of a trend because there was a B&C typical, not a world record, but a B&C muzzleloader that was literally within a week or so.
He did. Mr. Thompson, Harold Thompson, came in the same day. He was actually friends with Stephen, killed the deer 20 minutes away with him, Stephen Tucker, and it was an incredible rack. And then we had a lot of photographs sent to us this year. It's a big deer state in Tennessee. Whether we will maintain that, I don't know.
Right.
But it's been a special year in this state, seeing what we have out there and knowing that there's probably a lot more that hunters haven't seen yet.
Absolutely.
So if Kevin had come in, we were going to get him permission to hunt on that Tucker property. but it's too late now.
It's too late, man.
Sorry,
you just got to catch your flight next
I'm so
time.
sorry. Yeah.
Well, and it's and that's one thing that we talk, a conversation that's just come up recently within hunting communities, coming from someone outside of a conservation agency or a wildlife agency, is the thought of outsiders or antis, for lack of a better term, or even not antis, just people who aren't involved with hunting and fishing, not really realizing why that resource is there. So they're just as concerned as we are about whitetails and turkeys and peregrine falcons and red-tailed hawks, but the way they want to go about it hasn't been proven to work. But what, as hunters and outdoorsmen have done and supported, what wildlife agencies have done is literally the reason those animals are there is because of, Pittman-Robertson Act, of all that money going through, and, them banning market hunting in the late 1800s, like that kind of stuff is the reason that this stuff has worked, and that's all strictly because of hunters. I mean, not strictly, but a overwhelming majority because of hunters and anglers and outdoorsmen and women.
They may not know it, but they're the best conservationists in the country.
Absolutely.
And there was that. It's a great point, Jared, that we wouldn't be successful managing wildlife and fish in Tennessee if it wasn't for the sportsmen. It's been a great partnership. Even those who don't like us, it's been a great partnership. And
there's probably a reason they don't like you. They got something to hide.
When we needed to restore deer and we needed to restore turkey, they were right there with us, and they wanted it done.
Well, a lot of the stuff is volunteer based too. You said you're fairly, considering you cover the entire state with 700 people going out and capturing those turkeys and that kind of stuff, and then hunter safety programs. There's a lot of volunteer.
And all these groups out there, these Ducks Unlimited, and National Wild Turkey Federation chapter clubs.
Chances are those people aren't PETA members.
Yeah, no, they are not. No, in wildlife management, it's important. You can want to save the animals by the way that PETA might want to save them, but it doesn't work.
Right.
You got to pay for them, and that's
somebody's got to pay for it. Unfortunately, monetarily, money has to be exchanged.
It does.
With this particular system, it's been figured out that we can do it through the use of hunting licenses and taxes on firearms and outdoor gear, rather than donating money to somebody that chances are that money's not even going to go to where you wanted it to. It's going to go to pay for somebody's Cadillac.
I agree. And I tell you again, these folks come in and work here all the time. They're ready to go, and they always have bright ideas that they're trying new things. And, of course, we have a commission that governs this agency that's appointed by the governor.
Give me a
House and Senate.
Yeah, kind of give me, because that's one thing I've always been a little bit confused on, is what is the difference between the TWRA and the Tennessee Wildlife Commission? Well,
the TWRA is the agency. That's the state agency. It's been around since 1901 in different forms, and in 1949 it became an independent agency. I mean, it became more independent than ever when Governor Gordon Browning appointed 9 members to be commissioners over it.
Okay.
And we went through an organization process. It kind of did this thing over 50 years where it began to slowly come together, and then in the 40s. We created the organization that we have today, and Governor Browning appointed, I think it was 9 members to the commission. He put them across the state so that there was equal representation in what we call the 3 grand divisions. And
which is important, because if you don't live here, Tennessee is essentially, if you want to look at it from a wildlife standpoint, it's almost 3 different habitats from west to middle to east. I mean, you can go from Knoxville to Memphis and feel like you've gone through 2 different countries.
You can. You got swamps in West Tennessee and good rolling hills in Middle Tennessee, and as you get up on the plateau, you start getting into mountains, and you go to East Tennessee where Jason's from, and you get into all this beautiful landscape and cold waters and natural trout over there and all kinds of stuff. But it got started with that, and our commissioners are private citizens that
non-paid,
non-paid. They get per diem, but they're non-paid, and
people that probably make more money than the per diem is worth anything. not wealthy people, but people who have. It's not.
No, I'd call it wealthy.
Not young up and comers. People have been around for a while and have kind of seen things and give an opinion from a perspective that's a little bit more well versed than somebody that's just getting.
They are,
itself.
And most of them are successful business people.
Right.
Almost all of them are successful business with a passion for the outdoors. And we just had some go off of here, and I thought some of them were going to cry when they left because they really loved this place and what they were doing. And so that's how all that started. And through the years, we've continued that. Now we have 13 members that sit on there because the Senate and the House also get to pick some folks.
In addition
with the governor. So they pick 4, the governor picks 9. And they are the representatives of the sportsmen out there. If you want something to change, that's who you go to. And it doesn't mean you're going to get it done. But that's who speaks for you to us. They oversee our budget. They don't oversee how we manage something necessarily, but they oversee the money we spent for that management.
I got you.
So
essentially, from a business sense, it's almost like a board of directors.
It is. That's exactly what it is. We have a chairman every year, rotates 1 year, and a secretary and a vice chairman, and so they do all that stuff, and it's like a board. It meets about once a month. Okay.
Sometimes those are open to the public.
Yeah.
I mean, you can come voice your opinion.
Yeah,
Those
well, and I
meetings.
like
And
y'all
Jason
started
streams them.
putting the commission meetings up on
They're
YouTube.
on the
which I
website.
like.
You can watch them after the
I've
fact.
watched a handful of them, just like picking through. Like there was something. When the rule changed for whitetails this last year, I was watching that one because I was just interested in what the reasoning behind it is. Hearing rather than just seeing what the rule was, hearing people speak behind it, and it helped me understand it a whole lot more. Which in turn helped me explain it to the guys around me that were like, "Oh man, I can't shoot this many," and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, "Well, there's a reason. Think through it before you get upset about
the
it."
information's out there. You just got to come find it, like
Exactly.
Jared has done. And so you got to come find it
Right.
because we put a ton of information on our Facebook, out on our website,
Facebook's really
on our
good.
Tennessee Wildcast.
That has been really good for me just to be able to keep up with stuff because it's with YouTube and Google and the website you actually have to go out and seek it out. But with Facebook, if you're following the page, it's not forced down your throat, but it's there, so it's going to pop up. It will let you know
is there.
something that happens whether you know what's going on or not, which is really nice.
It's a great way to learn what's going across the state because we're posted all over the place, and it's really good. And Jason's the one that helps put up all the streaming videos that you see with the commissioners and a lot of the other stuff that we do. He's come along and really helped the agency in recent years become even better known than what we already are, or at least maybe what we weren't. I don't know. So it's a constant thing.
It's about the best segue I could ask for. Jason.
Is it my turn now?
It's your turn. How did
Okay,
you...
that's enough.
All right, back to you, Doug. How did you get... how did you end up here?
Well, I wanted to get into the music business. I thought.
Where are you from?
I'm
originally?
from East Tennessee, Decatur, Tennessee.
Okay.
Right on the Tennessee River, about 30 minutes north of Chattanooga.
Gotcha.
And grew up on 400 acres there.
Oh, wow.
Family farm, and can't believe I left. But anyway,
Yeah.
I wanted to get into the recording industry, music business, and ended up at MTSU. Graduated there with a degree, and right before I graduated, I did an internship with the agency, and we were going to be recording PSAs and doing audio production for the wildlife agency. And I thought, this is going to be cool. This is going to be right up my alley. And it all worked out for an internship, and then turned into a job later on. And I've been here for 10 years now.
That's awesome. So did you grow up hunting and fishing, or did you get into it later on?
Yeah, I grew up. I guess I noticed the other day that I completed hunter ed when I was 10. I think that's
Wow.
about when I started hunting. So I've been hunting for about 22 years now.
That's awesome.
Deer hunting mostly. We didn't have a lot of turkeys in Decatur until just here recently. Pretty much the past 5 or 10 years, I started seeing more turkeys there in that area. But did a lot of deer hunting and a little bit of fishing. So
That's awesome. So here what's your official title over here? Or do you have one?
well-
Or are you just Jason?
No, he's our social media specialist.
social media specialist. they
Specialist.
say.
Oh, that's
You
high
know.
praise right there. You
But
better be prepared.
I like to put audio and video specialists in there as well.
Jason he's a jack of all trades. He from everything from building stuff we need to everybody. If he walks down the hall, somebody wants him to do something for him. So
That's
he
awesome.
does a lot. But
Yeah,
good.
we got a couple of guys here, me and Todd, and we do a lot of the video production stuff, and people come to us a lot. Can you do this? Can you do that? Because
Right.
normally we can figure out a way to get it done if they
Right.
need it. So we do a lot of stuff, but mainly my side of things is the podcast that we're doing, Tennessee
Right.
Wildcast, and then the social media side of stuff, and just getting the information out.
Right, which I love the podcast. We were talking about it earlier. I started listening, I think, from podcast one, either Doug or the Region 2 page. It was one of the two, or it may have been the agency page on Facebook had posted something, and I started listening to it. And we were talking. I was telling y'all earlier this. That it's a good way to get information out in an entertaining way, because I will go ahead and put myself in the realm of, I enjoy writing and creative writing, but I'm not a big reader. So I would much rather listen to something or watch something had I read it.
That's the same boat I'm in. I'd rather listen.
And so you can post something on the website all day, but I'll get about a paragraph in, and that's probably not even to the good stuff yet. But you put it on a podcast, I'll sit down for 30 minutes, and I'll listen to it when I'm running, or listen to it in the truck, or when I'm out working, just have headphones in. So.
I found myself listening to more stuff on the radio and on podcasts, driving back and forth to work,
Yeah.
what generation are y'all? Y'all X or Z or what generation y'all are? It's a little bit different.
Yeah, well, it's nice. It's just taking the radio mobile, essentially.
It is. I like it. As somebody's considerably older than y'all, it's hard to stay up with it, but I enjoy doing it. I enjoy, and Jason helps me with a lot too. Keep up with the technology. fix my computer when it won't run, do whatever he has to do.
And we do the audio side of things, but we also stick cameras in the room and
which
and
is awesome.
Make it available for somebody who wants to look at our ugly faces. So, we're done ugly faces.
Yeah.
Y'all there are tens of fans out there. Don't worry, everybody wants to watch it.
Yeah, tens of fans.
That's what I always tell Kevin. I was like, don't worry, buddy. There are tens of people listening to this.
Well, I think you have a great idea with this show. I like the music part that goes with it and the discussions. I look forward to hearing it. I think it's a great title for the show, for your show, and a really good idea.
Well, thank
and
you.
I think people will be amazed at how many of their favorite stars out there and folks that are more like session players that are so good like to go out and hunt and fish.
He didn't know if this show's going to go viral because he had Doug and Jason on.
That's
No,
right.
that's-
Hey,
yeah.
I'll keep up with the analytics on it. I'll let y'all know if it
Doesn't-
pops up. I'll have to bump y'all some
This
money,
one out of
maybe.
water.
Well, and that's the beautiful thing about it too. We have some where we don't have to talk about anything because it's ours, which is nice.
Right.
We can sit down and talk about music for a couple hours, or we can sit and talk about hunting. It usually ends up being a mix, but I mean, there are two subjects where I could get lost and just discuss for a ridiculous amount of time, and that's the beautiful thing about it is we're passionate about both just because we have a lot of experience in both. Well, not as much experience in both as some people, but more than others. And so, I could sit down and talk about turkey hunting for 4 or 5 hours, or I could sit and talk about the music industry and how a song gets written and the business itself for several hours, and it'd be nice. And it seems to be hitting a odd demographic that I did not realize was going to be there, where people who really aren't involved in either, but just people who are maybe interested in hunting but haven't really dipped their toe in that water yet. There, where y'all are aware, I'm sure of there's been a big movement over the last 5 to 8 years of people wanting to be a little more connected to the food that they give themselves and their families, and they're realizing more and more that unfortunately organic farming, while it is a good way to do that, is not from a protein standpoint, from a meat standpoint, it's not economical to buy organic meat unless you just make really good money and you can afford to pay for it. And so one of the better alternatives is going out and getting it yourself, because from the time I shoot a deer to the time it goes in my freezer, it never left my sight. Because about 5 years ago I started processing on my own. I used to take mine up to Flowers out in over off of, I think, Ashland City Highway, and they do a great
Indians
job.
Creek Road in
Yep.
Nashville.
And they do a great job, and I highly recommend them if you want to go to a processor.
I like Mike a lot. I
Yeah,
think
he's a
a good
super
fella.
sweet guy. Yeah, but I don't know. I just something about the connection to quartering a deer out and grinding all your own meat and packaging everything and labeling everything kind of led me to a different connection to my food that I had never had before.
And how did your family take that?
My wife was not on board at first. Not to processing. She said the other day, she was like, "You've officially once a year you turn our backyard into a slaughterhouse because there's a deer hanging from the back deck on a pulley, and I'm skinning deer with my neighbors all around." But I have come to the point where it doesn't really bother me anymore. I'm just like, you know what? They've probably seen worse thing in a horror movie, so they'll get to see this deer get quartered out, and I'll debone it when I get inside. But my kids don't know the difference. That's
the way kids are.
We had venison
You just-
chili. venison spaghetti last night, and my wife.
I saw a picture on your Instagram.
Yeah, that was
venison?
she
Okay.
made that last night, and she has gotten to where she's an incredible cook, anyways, and I put on about 30 pounds right after we got married because of that. But she's got to the point where she really enjoys cooking that kind of stuff. Our favorite meal as a family is just a big venison roast with carrots, potatoes, and onions, and rosemary, with just a little bit of gravy and some rice. And if I ever get put in prison for something and I have a final meal, or if I ever know this is the day I'm going, that's the thing I will request. I just want a venison roast with some white rice and some salt and pepper, and I am set.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's
You're
so
making
good.
me hungry as we speak.
Well, with my son, if you put nuggets behind anything, it's going to be good.
Uh-huh.
So, you fix deer nuggets, they're going to eat it.
Exactly. Well, and it's starting them young to where they just don't know the difference. I think that's been big for my kids is they don't know. And we're honest with them about that kind of stuff. Like we had corned beef and cabbage for St. Patrick's Day, and my son was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "It's beef." It's like, "What is that?" I was like, "That's a cow." So he walked around all night. It's like, "We're having cow tonight." But he doesn't need to be exposed to the slaughtering of the cow, perhaps, but he's seen me process a deer, and I want him to know this is we take a lot of pride in not only harvesting this animal, but actually, an Amber Alert?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
We take a lot of pride in not only harvesting this animal, but, respecting it all the way through the process. Whereas, this is not something we waste. We use every bit we can. My goal this year is to save a heart and a liver and eat it. My wife's not a big fan of that, but I've told her, I'm going to save a deer heart, and I'm going to kill a doe, and I'm going to save a heart and a liver, and I'm going to eat it.
Well,
Not raw.
I might would do that. I might would eat a deer liver and a heart. Never have done it.
I haven't either.
That you've exposed your kids to it, that they're seeing a deer being dressed is a good thing. They won't think nothing of it. A few years back, I had two little girls. They're grown up now. Two little girls next door, and I was skinning catfish over there, or dressing catfish. And they were girly girls, but they knew I fished all the time. They came over there and they put their hands in the middle of all that stuff. And you just got to let them see it, and they don't grow up thinking it's gross because it's not. It's how we lived 200 years ago, 600 years ago, 800, whatever.
Well, and all three of my kids, my in-laws, every third birthday or fourth, they buy them their lifetime sportsmen. So all three of my kids have their lifetime sportsmen.
Good to hear.
So
you got a job for the future there.
That's right.
Awesome.
So, and they may not, I may take them hunting and fishing, and they may not get into it. I'll never force them to go. They'll always be able to go, but I'll never make them go. And so, so they may not be into it, but I think for me, when I was a kid, because I saw that kind of stuff when I was a kid, I was not a picky kid at all. I was willing to eat anything because my parents were willing to feed me just about anything. and two, it will help them grow up with a respect of no matter what kind of protein you're taking in, something had to die for that. So if you're eating a chicken, know that was an alive
I agree
chicken.
with all that. Sure.
And if you're eating a pork chop, that was a pig, and it was alive at one point. And so you need to, nothing wrong with buying your meat at the store. We buy meat at the store too, but I think people have lost that connection over time because they don't. It's out of sight, out of mind. You don't have your hands on it.
I think there's some that think cows or meat are just
growing
in that store. They just grow in there. I do think people have really gotten disconnected, and that's as an agency we struggle with that all the time. We constantly have events directed toward children, but we can't reach them all, and we can't reach into everywhere to get them. So, we need more parents like you and like Jason that are getting them out, giving them the opportunity, like you said, not forcing it, but providing the opportunity. And if you do it and they like it, then they have a hobby for the rest of their life, way into their life.
Yeah,
a lot longer than any sports at school is going to take them.
That's the truth.
So, I hope you keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the plan. Well, do y'all have? There's one question I wanted to ask you, and you may not know this off the top of your head, and if not, I'll cut this part out. What is the percentage of the TWRA's budget that comes directly from boating, hunting, sales, and now kayak licenses too?
No, we don't have a kayak license
okay.
yet.
I thought for some reason
I wish we did. Kayak fishermen, boaters wouldn't like to hear that, but if you don't put a trolling motor on it, you don't have to have a registration. It's registrations for boats.
I got you.
And that may happen one of these days. I haven't heard anybody here talking about it being imminent.
Well, that kayak fishing is getting pretty popular. I've seen more and more out of that.
They're using the resource and they're using the ramps and all that kind of stuff there too. So down the road, who knows? But to answer your question, I don't know the exact numbers, but we get 95% of everything we do comes straight from Tennessee sportsmen. Well, let me back off that a little bit. 90 to 95% come from sportsmen.
Right.
About 75% of that comes from Tennessee, and then you got the rest, the federal dollars that you were mentioning earlier. And then we might have a tiny bit of stuff that come from here and there. We're not like a lot of other states where we have a quarter-cent tax on gas.
Right.
And we get all that, and we get it on the sale of hunting and fishing licenses, and sometimes you see people complaining that they think our licenses are high, but if you just knew what you were getting for that and what you weren't getting for that. The idea, again, back in 1949 was to keep politics out of as much as possible out of wildlife and fish management. And how valuable is that to you to not have a whole lot? It's still there, but it's not like it would be if you were getting tax from gas.
Right.
And then you're talking about a whole different world, and that may happen down the road yet, something like it. But right now, we're fortunate that we don't. So anyway, sportsmen pay about 90% of what we do.
Yeah, I hope it stays that way. I think that system lends itself to not only transparency and not having politics, hands playing in and somebody getting mad because somebody shot a turkey close to their house, so they're going to make it, if they're going to get rid of the quota hunt or in that county or whatever. But also just keep it to where the sportsmen feel like they're involved in the actual conservation itself.
Just as an example, one of the things that happened a few years ago, politics, we had a piebald or an albino deer, and it was a legislator's on his property or near his property, and he liked it, and he managed to get a bill passed or that you couldn't hunt albino deer in Tennessee.
But you can shoot piebald, right?
You can piebald, but you can't albinos, and they're genetically, according to our biologists, they're the genetically deficient ones, and they're protected because.
But it should be the opposite.
Right, it should be. So, and that's just a small example. You alluded to stuff good, but you don't want your seasons being closed down because something happened in an area that somebody doesn't like, or you want this county opened all year long to deer hunting or to turkey hunting when you need to manage it because somebody wants a lot of stuff killed, or they got a brother or sister brother who wants something done. So we've been really lucky in that respect in Tennessee, even though our licenses do seem high at times.
Yeah, well, I mean, what the $2 increase not long ago was nothing. I didn't bat an eye when y'all announced that. I was like, it hasn't gone up in how many years?
We went about 10 or 12 years without at least that long. And even
which
when
is
we did
amazing
raise them,
if
we
you
did
consider
it.
just inflation.
Oh yeah.
And even if you get a
it.
sportsman's license, what is it, 165? You split that in 12 by 12. It's not a lot of money.
It's not bad.
You're paying to hunt fish.
Especially if you're doing more than one or two things. That's the always thing. Every year I battle because I don't muzzle load, and I don't waterfowl. I don't waterfowl hunt, but I don't muzzle load, and so. That's always the thing. Is like, do I need to buy the Sportsman, or can I just get away with buying everything separately? Because I'm always like weighing out which way is the best way to go. I inevitably usually just go and buy the Sportsman because it's just less to deal with.
I did
one
for the
button
same
and
reason
hit
for
go.
a long time. Yeah. So I think it's the way to go, and of course you've done the best thing you could do for your kids, and that's to buy them the best deal in all of Tennessee.
Well, I definitely have my in-laws to thank. That's one thing they just is it by 3 or is it by 4?
By 3.
By 3.
If tolerance $200 license if you get it before they're 3 years old.
Which is, I mean, you would just about be crazy not to do that if you have
it's
kids.
the best deal in Tennessee. I'm a terrible salesman, but that's the only thing I can sell. I mean, I'll tell people about that anytime I get a chance. Because it's such a good deal, and you are taking a chance. Will they ever hunt and fish? But you're not taking much of a chance.
No, well, I mean, just in Tennessee, how can you go your entire life with not going fishing at least once?
Right.
I can't think of many people. Well, there probably some people, but even when they do like the youth fish rodeos down at like Shelby Park and that kind of stuff, I mean, just go down and do that kind of thing where you can just go catch a mess of catfish with all those kids.
You can exactly. You surely can, and a whole lot more other stuff that's. If you need help getting them all lined up, you can go to our website and find a lot of events going on. And even if you're not good at it, we got mentors that work them that will help your children become better and try to keep them safe too.
That's awesome. Well, what, last but not least, do y'all have any like programs that y'all are trying to get the word out on right now, or anything that is being pushed hard, especially with turkey season coming up in next week?
We always push the safety message, and we always push it on water too. If I could get people to do one thing in my entire career at TWRA, it'd be wear a life jacket. I know we're talking turkey a lot here, but
It's getting into boating season.
It is getting into boating. It's getting heavy into fishing. It's going to be heavy, and I've seen a lot of people through the years. I know our officers have worked a lot of drowning cases where people would have lived if they've just put on that little silly life jacket. And with the inflatables these days,
it's
so easy to do. It's not there, and it'll make you safe on the water. So that would be my message. The programs that are going on, we're just getting into turkey season, and we got some big stuff in the future. We're going to have some big days going on.
Yeah, and our foundation plays a big part on helping us make things happen, and they're having a thing they call TOYS, Tennessee Outdoor Youth Summit.
Okay.
For lack of better terms, it's a youth summer camp for youth.
Oh, cool.
And introduce them to the outdoors, introduce them to what the agency does, and helps them learn about wildlife, fishery biologists, how to hunt, how to shoot.
For your kids one day, Jared, they'd really like it. Once they get about that high school.
Go to TWRF.net,
Okay.
and you can learn about how to sign up for that. That's a big thing coming up.
That's awesome.
In July.
Are you sorry.
Go ahead. No, you're fine.
Are you personally on a turkey hunting note, and we'll end on this? Are you ready yet? Have you been out scouting at all?
I have not scouted. I hear them in the morning when I go check the chickens and feed the dogs, but I have not scouted. I had one run through the yard the other morning or other afternoon when it was raining, but I know they're in the area.
So are you just able to slip out the back door and go set up?
I slip out and set up.
Oh
and
my gosh.
Hope for the best.
That's
But
awesome.
I wonder, yeah, go
I
ahead.
do run and gun sometimes and chase them on other farms, but
Gotcha.
And Jason's going to get the Tucker buck. We have a replica being made. If you want to come see it, we're going to have it here in the agency central office where we're
Okay.
talking today. And who knows? Maybe Kevin. Maybe we can get Steve over here to offer you that piece of property.
Well, if he just show up next time.
Yeah, well, but we're going to have the Tucker buck here, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And we're going to have it mounted on a regular head, and so
That's awesome.
it'll be something. If you want to see what this deer looks like, you'll be able to come into here to look at it.
I saw more people on that Facebook post. Man, is he not going to get that thing mounted? Why did he cut the antlers off? Is he
Yeah.
crazy? And like more people explaining, well, this is how you cap a deer, and that's how you do it. People were getting so upset, thinking that he was just going to keep them as rattling antlers or something. I don't know what they thought he was going to do with them.
We should tell you, I don't either, but, well, we won't go into what happened. But no, I don't know what they thought either, but there was a few comments that we probably should have removed on that. He's a great guy, by the way. He's a nice young guy.
Yeah, he seems like a really nice
Real good
guy.
guy.
And I'm glad he got it. I'm jealous that it wasn't me, but I'm not jealous that somebody got it that wasn't me. I was super excited when I saw that come up, and I'm like, that just came out of Tennessee, and that could be, and it now is it's really no longer pending. It's pending until 2019 to be official, but
It would need to shrink a lot, and
It would need
they
to
would
shrink
have to
a
change
lot.
their measurements
Yeah.
because we brought the guy in from Montana.
because it beat it
Take a
by
look at it.
3 or 4 inches, didn't it?
Oh yeah, every bit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 4 plus some now,
Yeah.
and it's came out at 312 and
There's
0.8
no way
for
it's going to
those.
shrink that much.
No, it
That's
won't
going to be
shrink
an
that
awful
much.
lot.
It will be, but it has been a special year, and we look forward to this coming summer too. I'm gonna go out and break the smallmouth record.
I don't know if you're going to be breaking any records. I'm just fishing with you.
I don't know. I went out with him one
Man
time.
behind the curtain.
I went out with him one time just filming, and I was amazed how he can find. I mean, he can catch the mess out of some bluegills if that counts.
Bluegills, and I think we caught a catfish or two that
Yeah,
day
we
or
did.
something.
Yeah, you
So-
caught it. You literally threw in. I was like, "Let me film you throwing in a line real quick." You right by the dock out at Percy Warner, or not Percy Warner, Percy Priest,
Priest.
and you threw in a line, and you were like, "Oh!" and then catfish came in. I was like, "You've got to be kidding!"
I
me."
used to catch fish, and I started fishing with Jason.
That's bad luck. Well, where's the best place online for the people to keep up with the agency and what they're doing and all that kind of stuff?
TMWildlife.org is the best place to start, and you can find all our social media sites are there. Our Wildcast is there. News releases are there. Any information we're putting out is right there at TMWildlife.org.
And watch our banner that slides across our website. A lot of folks still don't realize we're putting video out there. Jason shoots some real good video, and Barry Cross does, and Todd Mazors, who works here. And we put it on the top of our website. I don't think a lot of people realize that we're putting so much video out there. So
Yeah. Did you
take a
shoot
look at
that? It was seeding flowers for like bees pollination.
That was one
kind
of Barry Cross's
Okay,
videos.
yeah, I just
Yep.
watched that last night. I think.
That's on our Facebook page.
Okay, yeah, that might have been where I saw it. I watched that last night. That was really good. All right, well, thank you guys for sitting down with me and doing this. I appreciate you letting me pick your brain a little bit and dig in a little deeper than maybe
Gary-
some stuff y'all normally are allowed to talk about.
Well, no, you come back, and we'll have a good. Come up back to our show. Bring Kevin with you, and we'll do another Wildcast too, and we'll talk all hunting the entire show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks
We'll
for being
have
on
a
our
good
show.
time. Yeah,
No,
we
not a
enjoyed
problem.
it. You did a great
Appreciate
job. So just come on back, and all you have to do is when you're down at your folks, just yell at me and tell me you're ready.
I will, for
Okay.
sure. All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Catch y'all later.
Thank you, Gary.
Bye.